It's kind of amazing when you think about it. There's this creature, one we might see all the time,
Yeah.
and it can have 5 hearts.
Mhm.
Seriously, 5.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg for what we're digging into today on the deep dive.
Absolutely. We're looking at some animals that are often right under our noses, you could say. Crayfish, earthworms, pigs, cats, rats, animals whose lives are, well, pretty fascinating but often overlooked.
Sure.
We've gone through quite a bit of info, trying to pull out the really surprising stuff about them and, how we interact with them.
So the idea is to maybe bust some myths,
Yeah.
get people thinking differently.
Exactly. Challenge those common ideas and hopefully give you a shortcut to being pretty clued in about these creatures without getting totally bogged down in detail.
Okay, sounds good. Let's start with crayfish then.
Okay.
Or crawfish, crawdads. People call them different things now.
Yeah, mud bugs too, depending on where you are. They're mostly found in freshwater streams, rivers, ponds, that kind of place.
And they look like tiny lobsters, don't they?
They really do. Usually sort of beige, brown, maybe greenish, and they've got 10 legs. The front two have these strong claws.
Claws they use as tools.
Yeah, pretty much. For digging, defense, grabbing food. And they have antennae, too, which are super important for sensing what's around them in the water.
Okay. And are they active all the time?
Mostly at night, actually. They're nocturnal hunters and eaters, generally. You might see the younger ones out during the day sometimes, but the adults tend to stick to the dark.
Interesting. Now, something that came up in the sources, this idea that they feel pain, that feels important.
It really is. It makes you stop and think, doesn't it? If we know they can feel pain, it definitely changes how we should approach interacting with them.
How so? Like practically?
Well, for example, if someone's catching them, maybe for food or study, knowing they feel pain might lead to more humane ways of handling them. It sort of ripples out into how we treat all living things, even the small ones.
Yeah, that definitely gives you pause. And there was also a point about their environment.
Right. Keeping those streams and ponds clean is crucial. Litter, pollution, that stuff can really harm crayfish directly, and it messes up the whole aquatic ecosystem they rely on.
So basically, don't trash their homes.
Pretty much. And if you're, say, in a classroom setting wanting to learn about them.
Ah, yes, the dissection alternative thing.
Exactly. There are really good alternatives now, thankfully. Companies like Animal Learn have models, computer programs, videos, ways to learn without harming any actual crayfish.
That's great to know. Okay, let's shift from the water to the ground. Earthworms.
Earthworms, yeah.
I think the default reaction for a lot of people is kind of, slimy. But the sources suggest they're actually environmental heroes.
Oh, totally. Nature's recyclers is a perfect description. They're constantly eating decaying stuff, fallen leaves, dead plants, even dead animals sometimes.
So they stop junk from piling up.
Basically, yes. They
Yeah.
break it all down, turn it into nutrients for the soil. It's a incredibly important work.
And the tons of different kinds.
Oh, yeah. Something like 2,700 known types around the world. And some can get, well, unbelievably long, almost 12 feet in some cases.
12 feet, a 12-foot worm.
Wow. Hard to picture, isn't it? And anatomically, they're invertebrates, no backbone, no bones at all. They breathe right through their skin.
No lungs.
No lungs. And back to that cool fact from the start, they have 5 hearts.
Right. The 5 hearts. Why so many?
Well, think about how long their bodies are. Those 5 hearts work together in a series, basically, to pump blood effectively all the way through. It's a really efficient system for their shape.
Clever design. And the sources encourage being a worm friend.
Yeah, just, respecting them, not harming them if you find them in the garden, maybe taking a moment to actually watch them, especially after rain. Appreciate the job they do.
Okay. And we can help them out with our shopping choices, too.
Seems like it. Buying organic produce means less chance of harmful chemical sprays ending up in the soil, which can hurt the worms.
Makes sense.
And again, for learning, Animal Learn has models and videos, so no need to harm worms for education.
So if you want to see them in action, maybe start a compost pile.
Where?
Or just go look outside when it's wet.
Good ways to do it, yeah. All right, moving on. Pigs, also called swine or hogs. They have a bit of a reputation, don't they?
They do. Often not a great one. But the sources say they're actually really smart.
Among the smartest animals, actually, and very social, too. They communicate quite a bit. Calls, snorts, sniffs, even whistles.
Whistles. I didn't know that.
I
What about the whole muddy thing? Is that just like in dirt?
Not really, no. They're naturally quite clean animals, believe it or not. They tend to keep their bathroom area separate from where they eat and sleep if they can.
Okay.
The mud wallowing is all about temperature control. They don't have sweat glands like we do.
Ah, so they roll in mud to cool off.
Exactly. It cools them down, and the dried mud can also act as a sunblock and protect against insect bites. So it's practical, not dirty.
That completely changes the image. Now, educationally, Fetal pig dissection is pretty common in biology, isn't it?
It has been, yeah. But the sources point out that, like with crayfish and worms, there are alternatives, models, virtual dissection software. Animal Learn comes up again here.
Good to have options. And beyond the classroom, what about how we think about pigs generally?
Well, the sources suggest maybe telling people about these positive traits, their intelligence, their social nature, and they even mention trying vegetarian options like pigless in a blanket was the fun name they used.
Ah, okay, so yeah, looking past the stereotypes seems key here.
Definitely. Okay, next up, cats. Probably a bit less misunderstood than pigs or rats, maybe. Lots of people love cats.
For sure. They're hugely popular pets, known for being affectionate, playful companions.
And there's such a variety, isn't there? Different breeds, looks, personalities.
Yeah, size-wise, what's typical?
Most house cats are somewhere between, say, 5.5 and 16 pounds. Some bigger breeds can get up to maybe 25 pounds, though.
Okay, now one really important point the sources stressed was indoor versus outdoor living. That seems critical.
Absolutely critical. The difference in safety and lifespan is huge.
Why is keeping them indoors so much better?
Well, it protects them from so many dangers. Cars, predators, fighting with other animals, catching diseases, getting lost, poisons, the list goes on.
Right.
And because of that protection, an indoor cat can live potentially up to 20 years longer than a cat that lives mostly outdoors.
20 years. That's incredible.
It really is. And this connects to another big issue, cat overpopulation.
Ah, the shelters being full.
Exactly. So the sources really push for adopting from a shelter or rescue group rather than buying from a pet store or a breeder. There are just so many cats needing homes.
Makes sense. And sadly, cats are also used in dissection.
Yeah, and the numbers are quite shocking. Over 100,000 a year, apparently. And many of those cats were once pets.
Oh, it's awful.
It is. But again, thankfully, alternatives like models and software are available from Animal Learn and others.
So responsible cat ownership means keep them inside, adopt, don't shop, and get them spayed or neutered.
Those are the big ones, yeah. Spaying and neutering is vital for tackling overpopulation, and also just being aware of hazards around the house.
Like what kind of things?
Well, things cats might chew on or swallow, like aluminum foil, string, yarn, rubber bands. That stuff can cause serious internal problems.
Good point. The sources mentioned making safe toys, like a catnip pillow.
Yeah, a really simple idea. Just need some cloth, needle and thread, and catnip. So 2.5 sides, turn it right side out, stuff it with catnip, and sew up the hole. Safe and fun for the cat.
Nice little DIY project. Okay, last but not least, rats. These guys probably have the worst reputation of the bunch.
They often do, yeah. Lots of fear and dislike, but the sources really try to challenge that, highlighting how they can actually be, well, lovable and friendly as companions.
Really? Okay, tell me more.
Well, first off, rat isn't just one thing. They're rodents, and there are over 570 different kinds of rats. Different sizes, shapes, living in different places.
Wow, okay. I didn't realize there was that much variety. And the dirty rat idea.
Mostly a myth, actually. Rats are naturally very clean. They spend a lot of time grooming themselves, kind of like cats do.
Oh,
They're also generally nocturnal, sleeping during the day, active at night. And they're adaptable, living in all sorts of environments, even deserts and mountains.
So when people have issues with rats, say, in their homes, what's the approach? The sources mentioned problems with traps and poisons.
Yeah, traditional traps can be really cruel, causing injury and suffering. And poisons are not only cruel, but can also harm other animals, pets or wildlife that might eat the poisoned rat. They can also contaminate the environment.
So what's the alternative?
Humane traps are the way to go. Traps that capture the rat, live without injury, so you can then release it outside, away from the house. It's much more compassionate.
Right, we'll release them somewhere safe. And what about rats in classrooms, like class pets?
The sources advise against classroom pets in general, actually. It's often stressful for the animal and hard to provide proper care. It's better to observe animals in their natural habitat if possible.
Or use models again.
Or use models, videos, things like that from Animal Learn. Yeah, learn about them without keeping them captive or harming them.
And the overall message seems to be about changing how we see them.
Definitely. Spreading the word that rats are actually pretty cool, intelligent, social animals that could lead to better protection for them, you know? They even mentioned some books.
Oh, yeah.
Like Charlotte's Web, which has Templeton the rat, or Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of NIMH, stories that show rats in a more complex, often positive light.
Ah, okay. Good examples. So wrapping this all up, quite a journey through these often misunderstood creatures.
It really is. Crayfish feeling pain, earthworms as vital recyclers, pigs being smart and clean, cats needing indoor safety and adoption, rats being friendly. Lots to take in.
Hopefully folks listening had a few aha moments, maybe reconsidered some things.
That's the goal, just sparking that curiosity, encouraging people to look a bit closer.
And if you want to learn more, the resources are out there. Animal Learn's website, the books mentioned, plenty of ways to keep exploring.
Absolutely. And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with.
Go for it.
How does the way we understand and treat these specific animals, the crayfish, the worm, the rat, how does that reflect our wider relationship with nature, our sort of overall ethical approach to the world around us?
That's a deep one.
Yeah.
Definitely something to chew on.